Caution, this podcast contains content hotter than a fire-breathing dragon at a barbecue. Listener discretion is advised. Your episode starts in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of the Lusty Library podcast, where we drink all the cocktails and talk cocks. I'm Joey. This episode, I think we're a little tipsy to start off right off the bat, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's all good.
Oh.
We're good.
I'm Joey, this episode's ringmaster for today's spicy smut circus.
No.
Under the big top with me, I have 2 wild animals that can never be tamed. Birdie and Lex. Say hello, ladies.
Hello, ladies.
Rawr.
See, I was waiting. Birdie, I knew you were gonna follow suit. Good girl.
Ugh.
So if you're a heathen and decided to start your listening journey with this episode, a little bit about us. Each episode, we choose a romance novel that none of us have read. We talk about it, but of course, when we're talking about it, we're drinking copious amounts of delicious, delicious cocktails. But I do need to give a listener warning for this episode. I think it's really important that all of our listeners know, if you're still using the training wheels on your smut cycle, you better put on your helmet. You better put on your elbow and knee pads, because you are in for a bumpy ride.
Nice.
This is the Million Scovilles novel that folks have been waiting for.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
here because today we're talking about The Architect by Nikki Sloane. And if you've never heard of this book because you've been living with the Buddhist monks and no internet service, here's a summary from Amazon.com. On the surface, my new boyfriend is a stiff, buttoned-up architect. He plans every detail of his life while carefully maintaining the walls he's built around his heart. But when the biggest project of his career pulls him away, Clay's solution is both temporary and unconventional. It even comes with a name. Travis. This handsome stranger is sweet and thoughtful. He's only meant to be a stand-in to fulfill my needs under Clay's watchful direction. Yet these 2 men couldn't be more different. The one thing they share? Well, I guess that would be me. One gets off on my pain, the other on my pleasure, and it awakens a desire none of us knew existed. But it can't last. Eventually, I'll have to choose, and it's going to destroy us all. So I have to tell you, when I read the summary of this book, I was drooling. I was panting. I was like, I need to read this book. Because, of course, I read summaries when I choose my books.
Yeah, I don't know why you would bother doing that.
How else are you supposed to know what the book's about?
I mean, blind trust, my friend. But so that summary makes it sound like it's a suspense thriller.
Yes.
It does. And
Yeah.
it's not.
No, not even remotely close.
Oh, no, because when you dive in, it's something completely different. So I think all the listeners need to get prepared. You need to make a cocktail for this episode and drink it with us, because today, in honor of our FMC's favorite type of shoes to wear during scenes, we are drinking Stiletto Manhattans. Make sure you visit our social media pages and our website for this cocktail recipe. This shit is strong. This shit is strong. But you know what? All right, give me a minute while I fortify myself for this episode.
Not
for a big sip.
for the weak of heart. Yeah.
Chug, chug, chug.
No.
Oh, I'm hoping the alcohol hits my bloodstream fast. All right, so let's put our foot to the gas and dive into this book. Now, I'm going to tell you, you need to put your seatbelts on because we're going to get you up to speed. But the first 25% of this book could potentially give you whiplash.
Is it 25%? I feel like 10 pages in.
Yeah.
It could be. There's a lot that happens. We're going to quickly outline it for you. We start off with our FMC Lilith, who gets a knock on her door. Lo and behold, it's her sexy neighbor Clay. And he's like, "You're a veterinarian, right?"
No, I'm a vet tech.
Because what happened? There's a stray cat that is hanging around the neighborhood. And of course, it's raining cats and dogs out there.
Oh my God.
This stray cat that has been around the neighborhood decides it wants to make a mad dash into Clay's house, and Clay closes the damn door on the cat's tail. And because he has a heart, he's really concerned that he's hurt the cat. So he goes next door, grabs Lilith, and is like, "Help me. I can't find the freaking cat." And of course, she decides to go across the lawn in rain and mud wearing dun 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 stilettos. Because we all wear stilettos in the rain. But they go in the house and search for the damn cat. Well, while they're searching for the cat, she's like, "Oh, don't you have a basement?" But he's like, "There's nothing in the basement. The cat would have not gotten into the basement." A little serial killer there?
Yeah, kind of tiny red flag.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Ultimately, they find the cat, and Lilith, with all her sex appeal, talks Clay into being co-parents of this cat.
That is, yeah.
What the
What the
fuck?
fuck? What the
Really?
fuck? Who does this?
Apparently Lilith.
Just the vehicle for, how to get these two together is just kind of like, all right. Suspension of disbelief. I'm going to throw it out there.
Absolutely. Because I don't know about you, but all of a sudden you're co-parenting a cat with the neighbor that has lived there for a year that you've talked to maybe one time.
Yeah. And he even says it to her. He's like, "I'm a stranger to you." And she's like, "No, you're not. You're my neighbor. I know where you live." And it's like, no.
And he keeps trying to say, "Listen, I can't take care of this cat because I travel for work," because he's a what?
An
architect.
For some reason, he is enthralled by Lilith, and he says, "Okay, fine. You can come to the house, take care of the cat. I don't know you, and I will give you every passcode that I have to all my security systems, and you can come in and take care of the cat."
I mean, I think the only reason why she gets by with it is because he's had his eye on her. We just didn't realize it. He has plans.
He has plans.
Really? You think so?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, before we dive completely into this, we, I think, need to get through something real quick, which is the meaning of the name Lilith.
Okay.
Oh.
Isn't Lilith in the Bible the first wife of Adam?
She sure is. And she is banished from the Garden of Eden for her disobedience.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Naughty Lilith. Interesting.
Lilith
Right?
was the first wife of Adam, and she
Yep.
refused to submit to him. So she was banished from the Garden of
Yes.
Eden, and then God made Eve because she was the good girl.
So I just wanted to throw that out there because I thought it was a really interesting nugget, and it's actually much deeper than the rest of the plot of the
Yes.
entire book.
Wait a minute. Did we read the same book? Because I don't remember a plot.
Oh, well, there was a cat, and they did get the cat.
Yes.
What happened after that, though?
Strikes me as like the BDSM slice of life story.
It's a primer.
Yeah.
Speaking as somebody who required a BDSM primer, it's a BDSM primer.
But nonetheless, he goes off to work. So
Yeah.
he's out of state. She's taking care of the cat. They're texting back and forth. The cat's name is what? Noir?
Noir.
Yeah. So while he's gone and Lilith is taking care of Noir, she hears a bang in the basement. And he kind of already told her, "Listen, I'm private. Do not go in my basement." But she wants to make sure the house is not falling down. So what does she decide to do?
Go in the basement.
Go in the basement.
Well, she was making sure it wasn't like somebody getting into the house, like
Yeah, or,
security
like-
reasons, or water heater blowing
Right.
up or something stupid like
Which
that.
I actually really appreciated the way that she went about caring for the house and the things that she thought of, like, oh, it could be like the hot water heater or whatever. She was an excellent caretaker.
Oh, she was.
Yeah, very thorough.
And a bit of a Dora the Explorer, because when she gets down to the basement, what does she find?
Well, she didn't need to explore very much
No.
No,
to
it's
see all of the
just furniture.
Yeah. So she opens the door And the first thing she sees is a St. Andrew's cross. And she knows what a St. Andrew's cross is used for. But she also sees a barrel-shaped horse, a spanking bench, a milking table, a kneeler, a Catherine's wheel, a queening bench, and a licking chair. I gotta know, who the fuck had to Google what the hell these were? Like,
The only one I had to look up was the Catherine's wheel.
Oh, what a humble brag. Oh, I only had to look up one of them. Oh.
I had to look up about half of them. And then I fell down the freaking
Oh,
hole.
yeah.
I had to look up every single one of them.
But as she's doing her Dora the Explorer and seeing all this, she's getting titillated. She's like imagining Clay spanking her or putting her on the St. Andrew's cross. And she comes to find out after she sees a business card and an order form that Clay owns Wicked Architecture. And she goes onto his website and sees all the beautiful furniture. So not only is she turned on about the furniture and the potential of her using it with him, but she's also in awe of the furniture that he makes because this is high-end furniture.
So I actually want there to be a website as a part of guerrilla marketing that somebody is making this furniture and they're like, this is Clay's furniture.
Oh, that is so cool.
I want to see what his would look like because the way they describe it, it sounds beautiful. Whereas when you went down the rabbit hole, did you see that it was mostly pretty utilitarian?
Pretty utilitarian, but I did find some sites that were a bit higher end custom furniture. And my eyes bulged out of my head about how much some of this stuff costs.
Oh, yeah. The craftsmanship and then the niche market.
Lex, when you first started talking I wish there was a website where blah, blah, blah. I was like, no. I don't wish there was a website for guerrilla marketing. I just wish this website actually existed and that the furniture actually existed because, as you say, Joey, about going down the rabbit hole and it's utilitarian and yes, the other stuff would cost a lot. None of the other stuff looks as good as it did in my head.
Yes.
For
this.
Yeah.
As you started saying that too, I was like, oh, wait, she doesn't want it online. She wants to go to a showroom.
Oh, well, sure. Yes.
And
I mean, that
touch
too.
the textile. You want to run your fingers across the wood, palm the leather.
I mean, anyone who's ever met me would understand that I would be flipping the thing over and checking to see what kind of hardware it was used. Did they use all wooden connection points?
Right.
I would really like to understand this. Where is the wood sourced from? Is it ethically sourced?
Of course you would.
What kind of finishes are used? Are they non-toxic?
Is this how your fucking brain functions?
Yes.
It is how my fucking brain functions.
So then our story moves to, she sees all this stuff. She closes the door, comes upstairs, and she's like, oh, I'm interested in all this. I want to try all this out. But now how does she approach it with Clay? So Clay comes back from his trip.
He came back and she was like, how are we going to approach this? I'm just going to be buck naked. She just gets right into it. It is the most bold approach. I was sitting there with my mouth hanging open going like, oh my God.
Well, she's sex positive.
Yep.
She's body positive. She's,
That has nothing to do with it.
So she's the pretty girl who is stunning, knows she's stunning, is used to how people react to her. So she thought she was going to just show up at his place, be naked and be like, hello, here we go, we're going. And I think it's important to be like Clay, very buttoned up, very professional, very straight, kind of dry.
Clay comes walking into the room and bing, bang, boom. He's like,
where are your clothes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not because he's not turned on, because he is turned on. Because this man controls absolutely everything.
He architects everything in his life. It's
yes,
almost like the name had a double meaning for this book.
So they have a pretty dirty scene. Page 15 of the book.
Yeah.
Starts right off the bat.
This is not a slow burn.
No. This is a rip off of the Band-Aid and she gets spanked.
With what? A scale ruler.
When I read that, I was like, Ow.
Well, so first of all, yes, you have to be very exacting in terms of your slappage to not get the point of that triangle on you, because that's actually just like getting slapped with almost like a razor.
Mm-hmm.
Because this thing is metal.
It's metal because the
right?
good ones are metal. He's not going to have a plastic one, not clay. No, he's going to have the metal one.
Yes.
But here's the thing. Was anybody else rolling their eyes at this part? I was like, oh, he's an architect and she's getting slapped with the scale ruler. It's a little bit on the nose for me.
No,
Like,
it made
no.
sense, though. Like, if
I
he's
mean-
going to get something on the desk.
Yes, absolutely. It makes complete sense. It makes complete sense. But I was just like, oh,
It's not
fucking
like
hell.
he's going to pick up a whisk off of his fucking office desk to whip
Okay.
her on the ass with, right?
But it's just like the book is called The Architect. They do this in the first 15 pages, but then there's no other fun architecture implements used for the entire rest of the book. I don't know, but there's a lot that can be done with a drafting table.
Oh, all right. I see where you're going with this.
You know?
I was going to be like, what are you complaining about? Oh. I mean, to be honest, with a name like The Architect, I figured the outside of the tin, the inside of the tin's exactly what was advertised.
But
Okay.
why need to do anything else after she agrees to be in a relationship with him if they have a sex dungeon? With all this furniture, all the toys, they were never back in the office to
Yeah.
have.
They were never
scene with each
wanting
other.
for a drafting table. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Why when you have a cleaning table or whatever the fuck it's called?
Yeah.
So that's where it all begins. But now you better take your Dramamine because now we start to go super fast and super furious here, and we don't want any motion sickness. I don't have any baggies for you to puke in. After this situation happens, Clay has a meeting at Arrow's Club, which happens to be a BDSM club, and he asks her to go.
It's a client meeting
Yes.
because somebody's commissioned furniture.
Furniture for him to make, and so he's going to go meeting, and he invites her. So here we go, this impromptu naked in your study. I'm spanking you with a metal ruler. Now you're going to come to a BDSM club with me in the same night. So they go to the club and a lot of things ensue. I think we immediately get thrown into the BDSM culture pool right then and there. I think all the stuff that was outlined in it. What did you think? Was it hot? Was it surprising? Everything they were outlining in the book? Were you experiencing all these new things like Lilith was?
Well, I sure as hell was because I've never forayed into the world. So I immediately was like, Google. Sex club near me.
Oh.
I mean, listen, I told my husband he was going to love this book, and he's like, I'm not going to read that fucking book. And I was like, no, honey, that's not what I mean.
You
gonna
don't
love
need
this
to love it. You're
Yeah.
going to love the repercussions of me
Exactly.
reading this book.
So, yeah, I thought it was great. I actually thought it was a really good structure in terms of like, we see what you're trying to do here, Nikki. Like, you are giving us what they call in the movie critique world an exposition dump. You're
Yes.
giving us the entire world in one nice little compact little packet. So you get to understand a whole lot about the dynamic, about the structures, about the physical implements, and the world in general in a nice, quick summary. And was it fun as fuck? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good nugget.
And the temperature just kept going up and up and up as every page passed. And you were hearing about the experiences that other people were having and the things Lilith was saying. There was a dirty scene where there was a busty woman who was getting fucked from behind with her partner. And they had the privacy window open to their room. And Clay's like, so what's your limit? And she's like, well, I don't know what my limit is. And he goes, well, let's find out. And he asked her to go over and give the woman a kiss on the glass. So Lilith goes over and kisses her on the mouth. And Clay's like, that's not what I'm talking about. And she
Meow.
easily gets down and kisses the glass where the woman's pussy is.
See, okay, so here's where I start to be like, okay, so the woman would then have to be standing flat with her full body against the glass. Because before that happened, I'm just thinking she's leaning on the glass with her hands on the glass. She's bent over, getting fucked from behind.
Mm-hmm.
But if Lilith is coming over and giving her a kiss down there, then that means that the down there has to be also up against the glass. And I'm like, how big is this guy's dick? Because that doesn't really work for, a lot of people to be straight up like that.
So did you make yourself a 3D artist rendering of what this actual position was and plot all the people into place so you could understand what was happening?
Listen, I've attempted that position multiple times and it doesn't work. What, are you going to have a dick that's like 24 inches long?
And if you do, the angle's just not pleasurable at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, well, whatever. I guess she could still be leaning over and Lilith could still be just licking the glass and maybe it doesn't have to be on it. So I moved on from that, but I did have a little in my brain.
Oh, no, I was just picturing that you're assuming that the glass is flat and it's not bumped out at an angle.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's fun. I mean, that's like pretty bold architecture right there.
We have lots of custom designed furniture. Why wouldn't there be custom designed windows? Oh, and I don't know. One of the clients is an architect.
Well. She didn't say the glass was at an angle.
She
so
didn't say
it
wasn't.
Oh, God damn it.
Anyways.
Yeah.
So while they're at the club together, Lilith looks over and there is a very, very, very handsome, tall drink of water who's waving over at them. And Lilith, of course, makes the assumption that he's waving at her and says something over to Clay. And Clay's like, oh, no, he's waving at me. I know him. And Lilith immediately goes, well, we should go over and say hello. It's rude if we don't. And he's like, we will later. Let's go see the show first.
That was great. Speaking of learning new things, the implement in the show, the vacuum seal bag.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Dude, the claustrophobia in me was like,
Yeah, not my thing.
Like, there is no way I'm not going to get in that bag. You pay me a fucking $1 million. Mm-mm.
You have no movement. Your arms and your legs are just in there.
No.
Yeah, you're like, no, I'm not.
There's a certain level of restriction that I can deal with. That is not it. Yeah.
So if you've never heard anything about BDSM, this book will bring you A to Z. I think it covered a lot of different things.
A good chunk in a very small amount of space.
Yeah. So much stuff that I was like, oh, that's a thing.
Uh-huh.
Oh. Yeah, it really went through the gamut, which I enjoyed. I felt very educated by the end of this book.
Well, I feel like it's a primer in each little section of things. And it's like, if you're interested in this, now you know what to go Google.
Right.
Like, oh, you like this? Go do temperature play. You like this? Go look at impact play.
So can I go get my smut PhD now that I've read this book? I mean, do I have enough
knowledge?
No,
I think this is still a bachelor's.
Still a bachelor's.
Yeah.
I'd have to do a little bit more work and research.
Yeah.
Of course, Clay starts to approach that he wants to be in a relationship with her, but not the typical quintessential we are boyfriend and girlfriend. So Clay says, I can do relationships. I completely understand the need for commitment and trust, and even monogamy if that's what my partner wants. He frowned, like the next part was difficult for him to say. But I don't do romance, Lilith. His gaze trapped mine, which means I don't date. Well, guess what? Neither does she.
Yep.
No,
every time somebody gets mushy and gushy and clingy, she's like, look at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works out. It's a match made in heaven.
Absolutely. She's like, that's fine with me. Let's do this. I want to explore all these things. She is into this. And then all of a sudden, Clay parts and he goes to the bathroom.
Clay comes back from the bathroom and he says, well, let's push your limits. Let's see what you got. And she's like, all right, well, what do you want me to do? And he's like, I want you to tell the next man that walks by that you want him to lick your pussy.
Yes.
And she's like, oh, what? I completely identify with a challenge accepted kind of situation. And when he did that to her, I was like, oh, fuck. He knows how to get her.
Yep.
I would have responded the same way, like, well, I'm not going to back down now.
But the thing is, he's also very clear that, like, there's always an out. You can always say no.
Right.
It's not like yeah, you can stop if you want. No, like, there really is always an out. Because that's very important in that kind of relationship.
So, of course, who is the next guy that walks by?
Sex on a stick wearing a gray suit, darling.
I love that. I was like, oh my God, he fucking orchestrated that perfectly. But then I also was thinking, what if it wasn't the man in the gray suit walking by next? Like, what if Clay just hadn't timed it perfectly and another guy walked by? And then he was like, just kidding, not that guy.
Well, then this book would have gone in a completely different direction.
I know. So anyways, these are the things I just want to let everybody into my head, okay? Just to explain to you where I'm at.
Well, I also think because Clay was a regular, the people on that floor knew him. If somebody else had started coming up, he would have given the nonverbal signals of like, fuck off.
Yeah. Go away.
Yeah.
You're not invited.
Yeah.
Not coming to this party.
Actually true. I could envision like Mr. Annoying Guy coming by and him just being like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So, of course, she asks sex on stick in a gray suit, and he goes down on her. He gives her an orgasm.
Hold on a second. That was hot.
Yes.
Yeah, that was great.
Oh, but honey, it gets hotter. Be prepared to get burned.
Actually, there was one super crucial part of the dynamic that he's building with them that carries through fully to almost the end of the book, which is you are not allowed to look at him while he's doing this. You have to look at me in the eye. Essentially, I am thinking about a lot of things as I'm reading these books, and I do have willing suspension of disbelief in many occasions, but I was just so annoyed. I was like, I don't like having my line of sight where I'm looking, eyes open or closed, being controlled. Blindfolded is a whole other story.
Yeah.
But if I have use of my eyeballs, I want to fucking use them the way I want because it is such an important sensory element to pleasure for me. Visual or lack thereof is huge. And usually because, as previously discussed, I have 17,000 windows open in my brain all the time, I have to shut my eyes because that closes a good 10,000 of them for me.
So
it's
you
very
can
helpful.
Focus into that one thing that's happening.
Yes. So when he said that, I was like, fuck no. I couldn't do this.
Okay.
So anyways, these are the things that go on in my head. Yeah,
Okay.
just in case anybody wanted to know these tidbits about me. Thanks. Goodbye.
I do enjoy learning all these little pieces.
He goes, hold on now. How you doing? You having fun there, Tiger? And she's like, yes. Then he says, well, if you don't want him to fuck you after he's done with this, then just don't come right now. Okay. And if you do, then you can just carry on, little girl. And she's like, oh. And he's like, so do you want him to fuck you? And she's like, oh, I guess I already know the answer to this because this train is not stopping at this point.
Yep.
And her answer is that she takes him, grabs him by the hair, and pulls him back into her. And I was like, oh, yeah.
I love that shit.
That's where the fucking heat started to get turned up. And I was like, yeah, grind that face into the pussy. Yeah. Anyways.
It's the head grabbing. Yeah.
Oh, it's all about the head grabbing. Yeah. Guys love the head grabbing.
So they're out in the open in this room.
Yeah,
They sure are.
We have Clay sitting on the couch.
Yep.
We have Lilith sitting on his lap with her legs spread. And we have sexy man in gray suit between her.
Mm-hmm.
And he whips out his monster dick. And
Biggest she's ever had.
And he fucks her with it. All while Clay is putting his hands down her corset, pinching the shit out of her nipples.
Yeah, and she can reach back and put her hand around Clay's neck for like stability. It's a great angle.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great angle. Into it.
And what she says is, while my gaze was locked on the man in front of me, my attention was split equally with the one at my back. The man was physically inside me, but Clay was inside my mind, stoking my wicked thoughts.
Ooh.
Love it.
And then, of course, Clay says to her, everything you feel now is because of me. All this pain, all this pleasure. His big cock filling you up? That's me.
Yeah, that was great.
And the crazy part is, Lilith and Clay have not had sex.
Yeah.
She is having sex with a man she doesn't know in the middle of the sex club and loving every fucking second of it.
I can't imagine being Clay and being so excited and having all these plans for her and then giving up that prized trophy moment in a sense where it's like, he's not the first person to fuck her in the relationship. He lets the other guy be the first person to fuck her. I mean, I get it that that's how Clay's brain works.
I was
but
going to say, you're assuming that's his end goal and that's what stokes him.
Right.
It's the control.
Totally.
He orchestrated this entire thing,
I'm sorry.
and everything is following to his plan.
Yeah.
He architected the whole thing.
So she has another orgasm. The man in the gray suit has the orgasm. He sticks his dick back in his pants. And what does Clay do?
Thank you.
Which that is a dismissal. Like, scene over. We're done with you.
Mm-hmm.
You can walk away.
Harsh.
Gray suit gets a little pissed off. He's like, what the hell, Clay? Because they know each other.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
The double dismissal.
Yeah.
I was just like,
Oof.
yeah.
Oof. But what was it that Gray Suit wanted at that point in time? Like, what did he want to do? Did he just want to sit around and eat bonbons with them?
I
Like,
think he wanted an introduction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything
That's
that happened,
exactly it.
he connected with her. He enjoyed the scene with the three of them there.
yeah.
I think in a way he wanted more. Scene was
Right.
over, that he wanted that other connector to it, and he got dismissed.
Yeah.
Like, we're done with you.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Like it was playing a game. Okay, it's over. Let's be humans now. And Clay was very much being like, oh, no. This is a thing and you're not a part of it. Bye-bye.
And I mean, to be fair, knowing what we know after reading the book about Gray Suit and what he does in life and who he is,
Yes.
I would have done the same thing that Clay did in the sense that, like, I would have already been like, ooh, this is some serious competition for me if she ends up understanding who this guy is.
Yeah, he shut it down as quickly as he could.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, you're not going to connect. Lilith and Clay are in a dom-sub relationship. They agree that they're going to proceed and explore how this goes. But of course, Clay's got to go off to work. He's finishing up a job in Florida. This book is based in Tennessee, Nashville. And all hell breaks loose at the job site. And Clay calls Lilith on a video call and says, hey, listen, things are not going great here. I'm going to have to be down here at this job. I can't come back. And of course, she's disappointed in it. A couple of nights pass and he calls her again and he says, so, do you want to play? Do you want to have a scene? She's like, virtually? He's like, yeah, hold on. Knock on the door. She opens the door and guess who's there?
Gray Suit.
And Clay's like, this is my substitute. Here are the rules. He is my stand-in. You are not to talk to him. You are not to look at him. You're going to call him Mystery. Ha ha ha. Mystery.
But I love that she called that too. She's like, ugh, mystery.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're so subtle. And Clay's like, no, his name is Mr. E. And she was like, oh, okay,
Sorry.
Clay, sorry. I just assumed you were kind of trying to make a funny pun, but like, I guess now we all know that you're way too serious for that. Jesus Christ.
And she is only to be known as L.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the job is that Clay is outlining every scene. Mystery is going to stand in as Clay, and Lilith is going to get all the pleasure from it.
It's a great idea.
And it's
So-
all cameras so that he can see it through video and direct from Florida.
Yeah. But don't forget, he is directing every single component of this scene.
And that's hot for him.
That is hot for him because he gets to be the dominant within the situation.
And the stand-in is someone who doesn't usually like to be dominated. So he's dominating the dom to use them as a surrogate to dominate his new sub. Double win.
Yeah. It's a pretty cool situation for him, but what I'm saying is that I just can't fathom being that person that's like, yeah, I'll just sit back and watch. I'm real horny right now, but I'm just going to watch.
Well,
No.
the other option is to get nothing. He's like 4 states away.
It's more than 4 states.
Les, I love the fact that you just put your hand up and was thinking of a map and fucking counting the amount of states from Tennessee to Florida. Was I right with 4?
No.
Well, I guess it depends on which route you're taking.
Moving right along.
We're not here for geography, folks.
But there are lessons to be learned in each and every episode here at the Lusty Library podcast.
But you didn't have to call me out at that moment. Nobody could see that I was
but I could.
No, it's important.
I could.
We need to talk about it.
So they start moving in this direction, doing it a couple of times a week. They go down to the workshop. Clay has scripted every scene. Mystery executes. And Lilith just reaps all the pleasure. There is a point where, as Lilith is testing her boundaries, these 2 men start to blur into one in her head.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So it starts to be like this melding that she kind of needs both of them to give her that pleasure. And Clay is very much a very strong dom where he tries to push her to her limits. He listens to her. But Mr. E is kind of quite the opposite of him, isn't he?
Yeah, it's this weird dynamic, I feel like. So Clay is definitely more about the control and also exploring Lilith's boundaries, more of the pain side to heighten the pleasure. Whereas Mr. E is more about just bringing the pleasure. He has a hard time seeing where the pain leads to the pleasure.
He doesn't seem like a BDSM dom to me.
Yeah, samesies.
Like it didn't seem like it was his thing. Mr. E is actually in training from Clay to be a dom, but from what I read, he's not naturally a dom. Like he does not want to inflict pain. He really doesn't.
He just more wants to be in control of the situation.
Right. Yes, he's dominant in a certain way, but it's not the same way that Clay is.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I really thought that it was interesting. I would have almost liked to see what would have happened if like a fully explored scene between Mr. E and Lilith on its own, which we do get to see
A little bit.
at a certain point, but not a fully
orchestrated by just him
right.
and with the 2 of them to see what his style would have been.
Right.
there.
I would like to have understood what his full style would have been because I don't actually think that he would have pushed Lilith hard enough in the way that she wanted to be pushed.
So because Clay has weeks and weeks and weeks that this is happening in Florida, he only gets to come back every other week. This relationship continues in this dynamic where Clay outlines every scene, Lilith and Mystery meet, and Clay is getting enjoyment from this. The tension between Lilith and Mr. E starts to build and build and build. The mystery. Who are you? I am attracted to you. You're different than Clay. You fulfill this particular need. So one night they had a scene scheduled and Mr. E couldn't make it because he had a work emergency. And of course, Lilith asked Clay, hey, Clay, well, what does Mr. E do?
You need it.
And Clay's like, no.
Yeah, don't worry about it, honey.
No, it's not important. So they're rescheduled for the next night. They go through their scene and Clay and Mystery butt heads. They butt heads pretty hard during this scene.
Yeah.
Because Clay is pushing and pushing and pushing Lilith to the brink to see what her limit is. And Mystery is just like, no, that's too far. That's too far.
It's so fucking bold, though, for him to be like, that's too far. Lilith didn't say stop.
Right.
So I
No
think
calling
it was,
red, no nonverbal
Nothing.
signals,
it
nothing.
really bugged me that he wanted to stop that scene
Lilith is a big girl. She can speak for her own fucking self. That scene really fucking bugged me. I actually forgot how much that bugged me.
Yeah, and that's kind of been like my thing with this book is I get the dynamic like, okay, so one can't do mushy-gushy. The other one is that sometimes the dynamic is you need two to be the fulfillment.
Right.
I like the love triangle. But that being said, Mr. E drove me crazy because he's never playing by the rules. He's not doing it the way it's supposed to be done. And it just drove me crazy. And the more he was like that, he, like you said, he's holding her back.
Yeah.
The whole reason why she's in this relationship is this is something that she has discovered she needs. Is it outside of the standard? Sure. But it's what she's decided she needs and she's exploring, and he's fucking holding her back.
And she's having the time of her fucking life, too.
Right.
After the scene's over, they're on the way out, and Lilith breaks the rules and says goodbye to Mr. E. And Mr. E doesn't leave.
He opens the door and shuts the door so that Clay can hear it on the fucking video that he's still on. So now we are in blatant defiance, folks.
Yep.
But I just want to remind you all that in the first fucking 20 pages of the book, while they're talking about co-parenting their fucking cat together, she directly talks about how she recognizes that he has an intense security system that she has to take notes on her phone with, and it probably has cameras. And he mentions to her in the interim that it has fucking cameras.
I mean, but seriously, so here is Mr. Mystery Man. You're finally having a conversation. They get naked within 2.5 minutes of saying hello to each other for the first time. Do you think she was fucking thinking, oh,
yes,
I should be concerned about the security camera? Yeah, no.
Yes.
No.
She lives next door. She could have been like, wait for me outside. I live right next door. Like, come on.
And they break every single rule Clay has put in place. First of all, no kissing. First thing he does, he pummels her mouth like it is a well of water and he has been walking through the desert for 6 months. Okay? He's like, I need your lips. And then number 2, they have sex without a condom.
Yeah, that was pretty
no.
good.
Yeah.
And on the floor, really quick, hard, fast. Everybody's coming all over the place. And then they go, oh, shit.
Yeah.
We probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not good. This is not
my
good.
eyes can't roll back far enough, but go ahead.
But here's the
Well, I
great
can't wait.
thing.
We had to come back to that eye roll.
They both make a decision that they are going to tell Clay what happened. Like, they're not keeping this from him. They fucked up. They were kind of being set up to fail anyways. Listen, you put yourself in this situation, 4 months go by, you're fucking this person that you have never even said hello to, that you can't have a conversation with. I mean, talk about saying, oh, don't put your hand near the fire. Don't put your hand near the fire. Don't put your hand near the fire. What the fuck are you going to do the minute someone turns their back? You're putting your hand near the fucking fire, aren't you?
I mean, sure.
Come on.
Going back to the eye roll.
My eye roll
Yeah.
of like, you agree to this, there are rules.
Exactly.
But I think they, whether they said or not, they blatantly wanted to disobey. They wanted the consequences of it.
Yeah.
I firmly believe in the like, your relationships or anything can be whatever you want it to be. It's a conversation. You outline what these things are supposed to be, but you have to play within those rules.
You agreed to those rules, especially in a dynamic like this.
And the more complicated the relationship gets, the more important those guidelines are. So like, you knew what you signed up for. Fuck. But also, again, well, then we wouldn't have a story. So there's how I feel about real life. And then there's this is how a story goes. But I'm still going to roll my eyes at it.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, one of the last things as he leaves is she asks him his name. And he's like, Travis.
Travis.
Mm-hmm.
Travis.
And she's thinking about him the whole time.
Fucking.
Yeah. The next day, while she's at work, major happenings are going on. She works at this big veterinary clinic in Nashville, and they have this open MRI machine. And all these people from the zoo are coming with, what is it, a Bengal tiger who needs to get this MRI in this big team. And she's like the welcoming committee of this big vet clinic. And
Because she's hot.
she's just, well, of course, she
Yeah.
probably looks hot as shit in scrubs.
I bet she fills those scrubs out
Absolutely,
real well in
yeah.
all the right
And her
places.
silver name tag, Lilith
Yeah.
gleaming.
I bet she looks great in a Dansko clog.
But here comes rolling up this caravan with the Bengal tiger. They're rushing him in, and the head veterinarian at the Nashville Zoo will be there soon. And he pulls up in the car and he runs right into her. And oh shit, who is it? She looks at the name tag and it's
Dr.
Eckhart.
Mr. E.
Dr. E.
Mm,
Oh.
meow,
Yeah, he's not just-
meow.
He's not just Mr. E. He's Dr. E.
Ugh, again, rolling my eyes.
But it was so good. I actually really kind of liked it.
I think we need to take a poll on how many listeners who read smutty books think a male veterinarian who loves animals is the hottest fucking thing on God's green earth. I'm raising my hand here. 'Cause,
Yeah.
hello, I fall down the rabbit hole of these Instagram videos that show these vets with little fucking puppies and little kittens and what?
There is a veterinary channel on YouTube that my husband and I will watch, and the vet is so hot.
Is he like the Saturday morning Australian vet show after Lucky Dog that
Oh, fuck me senseless if he has a fucking accent.
Yeah, oh, he was beautiful.
Uh,
and I can't remember the name
Oh,
of the
I
show
don't know
right
that
now.
one.
Damn it.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah, you need to come back and Google those and please send me those. I need something new to watch. They tell Clay about what they did, and he's like, I already know.
Yeah, you fucking dumb twats. There's a fucking camera.
Yes.
Come
that,
on.
Right there. Dumb twats.
Yeah.
Dumb twats. Dumb twats. So Clay takes on some of this burden, and he's like, all right, I really set you guys up for failure. Great. So they still proceed with this, and this goes on for months and months and months and months.
Also, when Clay comes home, each time he comes home and he gets to have one-on-one time with Lilith, it gets just a little less clinical and a little more romantic.
That is so true. Yeah, you see that happening very slowly. You fucking
Mhm.
know. He's all like, I'm not romantic. And I was like, Chekhov's romance.
Yes, exactly.
That means it's going to happen.
Was it the intellectual kiss in the beginning? The very like, this is the technical way to have a hot kiss turns into the passionate kiss.
Yes.
So months go by. Clay then invites them all to dinner. All sit down at the table, and Clay says to them, okay, so this is coming to an end because I'm going to be back for good. So how are we going to, finish this up? And Travis is like, well, why do we have to do that? Things are fine. And Clay's like, this was just temporary, dude. I outlined this to you. It's over. Like, done. And unfortunately, Travis gets a call. One of the animals is not doing well, that he has a very strong connection to. Lilith comments on it because they've talked about it, because they are starting to get a bit closer. And Clay says, well, what can we do for you? And Travis is like, well, I know usually Lilith is yours on the weekend. Is it okay if I spend time with her after I get out of the office and this thing is over? And Clay's like, okay, yeah, the two of you can get together. And Travis is like, well, what if we all get together? I'm going to let our sexy stud take this away and kind of tell you the hottest moment about what happens next.
As soon as I was settled into the new position, my breasts pressed against Travis's chest, I felt Clay's fingers work in alongside the cock that was fucking me. It was a lot to take, but I enjoyed the uncomfortable stretch. I stared down at Travis's bottomless eyes and wondered how he felt about this. Did he enjoy both the concept and the sensation as much as I did? I didn't get a chance to ask, because he jerked me down into a blistering kiss. They shifted as Clay moved behind me, and his warm fingers curled around my hip. Then there came a sound like he'd spit in his palm and was now using it to lube himself up. I was so wet, he probably didn't need to, but it couldn't hurt. Plus, it was filthy, and I loved the slick sound of him touching himself. Travis sensed the other man's approach because he slowed to a stop and wrapped his arms around me, caging me in. Clay sounded breathless. Ready? It wasn't so much a question as it was a warning. His grip on my waist tightened to hold me steady, and then he was there, nudging. Pressure built as he pushed, forcing his way in alongside Travis. I sucked in a sharp breath. There wasn't pain when he gained entry, but it was a deep ache, a fullness that demanded all my attention. I blinked my wide eyes at it, trying to process the tightness.
Woo! God, we waited a long time for our sexy stud. Considering this had so much sex on page 12, Joey gave us the slow burn.
All I have to say is, yeah.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is good. Dicks.
Laurel.
Process these dicks.
This is the book. This is what you came for.
So I have a controversial statement to make, which is that as I was reading this, I was like, oh shit, yes. And then I was like, well, double penetration. It's not really like all that wild.
Are you serious?
Yes. I was like, wow, I am ruined. I am ruined. I am ruined. I was like, wow. Don't get me wrong. At first, when I read it, I was like, oh shit, that's hot. There were some moments like the way she wrote it where the guys had a moment together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
hot.
Yes. 100%.
Yes.
hot right in the middle of all of that. And it was just like they were kind of gelling, and like Clay says to Travis, I want to feel you come while I'm inside.
Yes.
I like, oh
yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Fucking
Whoa.
hot.
That was the thing with this book that was the dirtiest, was Clay's dirty talk.
mm-hmm.
That
Yes.
was the shit
Yeah,
that
he
was
was
out
super
of
forward.
control in this book. Clay was just like next level with his fucking dirt talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I want to stop talking about the story at this point. Now you understand that all three of them have been together and some drama ensues. You have to read the book because I don't want to take the other 5 pages of the storyline away from you.
This is all the smut that we were missing in all the other
Yeah.
books, just compiled into one book.
So let me ask you, how did you feel about reading a book that was 80% smut, 20% story?
There was definitely a moment where I was like, I could go for a little bit more story at this point. It was fun to intersperse with everything else. And because I was learning a lot about BDSM, I was definitely kept riveted. And it was well written enough that I was like, oh, I'm going to keep reading this. I am still entertained.
Mhm.
Yes. It
Yes.
keeps you going.
I think it's one of those things where I will keep this author in my back pocket for if I want a really dirty read. That's what I'm in the mood for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there are just times you're like, no, don't give me the story. Just give me the fucking.
Yeah.
For me, that's like 10% of the time. So I'll keep it in my back pocket for later. In my Rolodex of what do the kids have nowadays? I'll keep it in my contact list for.
Oh my my God. Wow. Do you think any of the kids have seen a Rolodex?
So, what the fuck is this contraption?
I will, keep that in my list for, I just need something quick and dirty. That'll be my go-to. But, 90% of the time I want more story.
Yeah.
So, but this has its time and its place, and I'm glad that it's out there for when I need it.
What color plastic is your Rolodex?
Blue.
Blue. Yep. That sounds about right.
As a personal choice, I have a preference for books that have a very strong storyline with really great smut added into it. That is what I am drawn to. But this is like, you've come home from a long day of work and you really don't feel like cooking anything. You open the fridge and you decide, fuck it, I'm eating a piece of birthday cake for dinner. It's something that you'll do. It will nourish you. You'll enjoy the ever-loving fuck out of it, but you're probably not going to do that every night. So it really fulfilled that sweet spot. This book was dirty. It was hot. It was very sexy with a very, very loose sprinkling of a storyline. But you weren't in it for the storyline, honey.
No, you weren't.
You were in it for two really fucking hot men. A very beautiful, young, smart, sex-positive woman who was having a fucking grand old time. Okay?
She was really open.
So my question to you is, if you had to choose if you were Team Travis or Team Clay.
Oh, wait. So who do I want to fuck?
Yeah.
Lex, is that how you took the question?
Yeah, that's how I took the question.
Okay.
Because I know her devious mind.
Yeah.
I have a halo here, devious mind.
So I say, you answer it, Joey.
Yeah, go
Team
first.
Travis. Oh, fuck yeah.
Mm.
Dude went to veterinary school. Okay. He's smart. He likes to give pleasure, but still be dominant. Oh, yeah. Travis all the way for me.
See, here's where this book really blew shit open for me.
I'm ready.
Is that
this
I
is why I'm asking.
completely understood why she needed both. This book made me understand how a throuple happens more than any other book I've ever heard of.
Damn!
Achievement unlocked.
But you were here first. I remember that from a couple of fucking episodes ago.
I know. I'm like,
and you're
hashtag.
like, I completely understand why she would choose both.
I completely get it. Because when you put it in that perspective, I'm like, but I want Clay to push me to expand my limits and push the limits of the pain that she does like. Travis was babying her in a lot of the situations. He was going to cut it short, and she wasn't ready to cut it short. Yeah. She was ready to push through the pain because she knew that it was going to give her more in the long run. And Travis was like, no, it's hurting her. Don't do that. And Clay was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And totally valid. So I think Nikki did an incredible job of taking somebody who normally has extremely conventionally like monogamous ways of thinking and going, now that's interesting.
It took us fucking 7 episodes. That's all. And now the closet door is being opened.
I mean, I was always a very open-minded person.
Yes.
So
yeah.
You just needed to find the right story to...
Exactly.
Lex, I don't even know if I should ask you this question because I know the answer. But, because I don't want to be rude. Hey, Lex.
I think I know the answer too. I can't wait to know if I'm right.
So you would think I would say why choose.
No, actually.
No?
I thought you were going to say Team Clay all the way.
Team Clay all the way.
Okay, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Wait, what did you think it was?
That's because...
I thought she was going to be like both because why choose?
Sure,
I mean, she is.
But also, I would want to break Clay.
Of course you would. Okay.
He's a fun challenge.
Okay.
Oh, how are you going to break him?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
Okay. Well, all right. Listen, after we shut off the equipment and we make another round of these, I will get her to divulge what the fuck she's thinking.
There's a 14-point plan.
Yes.
Oh my God,
There's a
you already have
PowerPoint.
it outlined. You have the step-by-step instructions already on your phone. You're all set ready to go.
No.
So, was there anything in this book that was kind of new to you that you're like, oh, I had never heard of that?
Besides the whole book?
Come on, you must have known some
I
things.
mean, I understand the concepts of BDSM, but this was a ton of new information.
oh
for
my
me.
God. So, this was your first exposure to some of this culture?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Lex, I know you definitely have a more open view of everything.
I mean, to be honest, most times I'm on the observatory outskirts of things.
Yes.
I would say some of the things that were explored a little, like the temperature play.
Mm.
That was a little over the top for me with the icicle.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I've seen some temperature play and done some temperature play, but it's like, not, whoa, no, thank you.
Here's the funny thing about that. I went to my girl group of ladies and I was kind of chatting about the book. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm reading this one book and I had an ice dildo and one of my friends was just like, oh yeah, I've been fucked with an ice dildo, but it's like fine. Like once it's in there, you don't really feel it very much. And I was like, I'm sorry. What?
Yeah.
Hold
Yeah.
on. What? So she was just like, oh yeah, it's like basic.
See, no, I think that very much depends. Everybody relates to temperature differently.
Yeah.
Well, sure, that aside, but
Yeah.
this person was
Were you not
the
expecting?
person,
Okay.
yes, that I was expecting to be cavalier and casual about getting fucked with an ice dildo.
Mm.
So everybody else was like, oh, okay. Like you'll learn something new every day, folks.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So that was funny. But so are you saying that the ice dildo was kind of an extreme side of it in your opinion? Or
Not so much that it's an extreme side, but so much of the book was sort of like little introductions to things. And that is something in particular that I think you have to be careful with how it is executed. And that's something I'd be worried that someone would just like read this book and be like, oh, let me just go take this popsicle. And it's like,
yeah, okay.
warning.
Yes,
Okay.
and people
Warning.
just need to remember, do your research, people, before you play in some of these realms. 'Cause some of them are a little extreme. And everything you want to do, you want it to be enjoyable and you want it to be safe. But that brings me to my next question. Was there anything in this book where you're like, oh, I want to try that? Or a variation of what was in there?
I love that you're both just looking at me.
Well, you have a cute face on right now. Look at your cute face with your cute little pokey finger. What are you doing?
Nothing. I think the only thing I would want to try is mentoring.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. You would.
okay.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You are such an excellent teacher. I have learned so many things from you. You would be great in that world.
Absolutely.
Oh, I
Yeah,
support
you're
that.
Patient, kind.
You give excellent
Excellent
explanations.
You're very hands-on. I am maybe a bit of a voyeur that I personally don't mind watching.
Sure. Yeah.
So I would go and watch. I would have no problem watching anybody try those things out. And then there are times when you've watched someone else do it that you're maybe a little bit more willing to give it a good old college try yourself. So I would love an experience to go with someone to a sex club like that and watch and just see what is happening and experience those new things in that sensory way.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be enjoyable for me.
Wouldn't it be wild if I was there being the exhibitionist?
Okay, I think that brings it a little.
No,
it hits a little too close to home for me.
And that is exactly precisely the reason that I'm like, how do people do these clubs when, like, you can't control the people that are there?
Correct.
So
Right.
that's the thing where it's like, I don't know. It's kind of a wide cast, but that was definitely the thought that went through my head. I was just like, huh. I mean, if I could like control the environment a little bit more, I'm like, I could see myself going down an exhibitionist road with enough alcohol in my body.
Would I want to watch my besties? No.
No.
People that I maybe know in a periphery in a very social manner that maybe I just see at parties here or there. Yeah, whatever. Like,
Well, also when you're in that context, you're in that context.
Yeah.
And that's everything
Yeah.
for that context because everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
Everybody's playing the same game.
Yeah.
And you are all there for a very specific reason. And that is known and that's great.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, between the exhibitionism, that definitely was like, never thought I would go, oh, that sounds like fun.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. And now it's time with Dishing with the Dames.
We're
Oh,
dishing.
God. Are you pulling the question?
I'm pulling the question.
Oh, fuck. We're in for it.
We're in for it. So the question for you folks today is when they're at the sex club the very first time and the person that we in the future find out is Travis ends up fucking Lilith. She claims it is the best orgasm of her life, which leads us to the question today, which is, does size really matter?
Yes. But I also think it's a misconception that everybody thinks bigger is better. I think there's a Goldilocks rule.
Yes.
You know, there is such a thing as too small. There is such a thing as too big. And the just right is just right. I generally found that people are too big. It's not just that like, ow, but also like they think that that gets them everywhere and the rest of the effort isn't there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
it's sort of usually lazy.
Yeah. My partner and one of his friends have a phrase that they use for women who are on that spectrum where they get kind of lazy because they're hot. And they call them fuck me girls because they just lie there and they're like, fuck me.
Yeah. So there's the male equivalent of like, I'm just
Right.
big enough. Let me just stick it on.
Right.
So this is interesting. I want to answer sort of
Okay.
because I have probably had average size men who fuck better than some of the larger endowed men because
Sure.
they are working harder at it. They're listening to your body cues.
Yes.
They're open to figuring out what you need to get you there instead of just jamming in and being like, my uvula? Yes, no, that's supposed to stay in my throat. You shouldn't be reaching it from my vagina. And that is not enjoyable. So stop that. So I really think it's that person who's your partner really just honing in on what you need and working hard with what you got.
Yeah.
So yes, I want to say more girth than length. I'll take that
Yeah.
any day of the week. Right?
Yeah. But again, there is a Goldilocks rule there for sure.
Not too much, not too little. It's
Um,
got to be just right.
It's got to be just right. Yeah. The statement is, yes, size does matter, but we're not saying that it's necessarily always bigger is better.
Correct.
Yeah. You heard it here. Maybe not first, folks, but we're fairly authoritative on the subject. So,
All right. I think it's time to rate this book.
Oh, that's right. We do that.
I am so freaking curious where this is going to land for everybody. All right, so let's start with our first category, le romance. So you can give this book anywhere from 1 to 5 roses. 5 being a bouquet of love. It was blooming. Let's start with Birdie. Le romance.
1? It's not extremely romantic, but we weren't here for the romance in this book, I don't think. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing to give this book a 1 for romance. I thought that Lilith and Travis's relationship was cute in the long run. It wasn't very romantic, though, but it was cute, and I think it would have been nice for them to be together. I think they would have made a very nice couple in the long run, and she would have been happy with him because he gave her some intellectual stimulation and stimulation in other ways.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Lex romance.
I'm going to go with a 2. 1 flower for each boy.
Nice.
Well done. Well done.
No, this isn't a heavily romantic book, but you do get the little bit of the mush and gush between Travis and Lilith. And then you also do get Lilith to crack into Clay because he says no romance. And then he realizes that he really does have feelings for her. So there is some romance there. It's not the driving force of this one. That's not really its purpose, but there's a slight gloss of romance.
Yeah. This is like you're walking in to a hotel room on your anniversary and there are rose petals on the floor, but they've never made it to the bed. So I'm giving this a 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a bit of romance in there because at the end, Lilith is like, I love you both. I didn't think I had the capacity to love because I never found anybody to fulfill like the two of you who blend into one fulfill for me. So there was a bit of it. It wasn't that really get your heart beating kind of romance. Your heart was beating for other reasons, but it wasn't the romance that was outlined in this book. So I'm going to go with 2.
Yeah.
All right. We're going the smut.
Smudge.
Smutchy schmut. Anywhere from 1 to 5 raindrops. Lex, give it to me.
Oh, you know it's a 5.
Yeah.
That's what this is, page after page after page. And it doesn't repeat anything. She's giving us new smut every scenario, every scene, exploring all kinds of things. I think you said earlier, it's the primer. Today's BDSM 101. So yeah, absolutely 5.
Birdie?
Yeah, 5, duh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
This book is like getting a running start and hitting the slip and slide that you used to when you were a kid and traveling 74 feet.
Yeah.
You were going fast. And it was just basically everything you could possibly imagine. It was wet the whole ride down. 5 for me. This was all smut.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to story. You can give this anywhere from 1 to 5 storybooks.
So we're not allowed to remove the category?
No.
No. I'm being mean. I'll give it a 2. Yeah. There is a tiny little story in there. There's a little story in there.
There's some character development. There's character arcs.
Yeah, she weaves the story enough to keep you very entertained.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whilst everything is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Even to the extent that the venue doesn't change all that often for where they're fucking, and somehow you're still entertained.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the story of the characters and their relationship with each other and the progress that they make and all the tools that they use and the implements and those things, that's the story.
Yeah.
And she kept it moving along. It's fucking actually pretty masterfully considering what the content of this book was. So I want to give her credit for that. But did she have to think about all sorts of complicated like locations and connections and things and plot lines and people? No. So,
Yeah.
2.
Lex.
Yeah, same thing too, because that's just it. It's not an overly complicated story. You know, there's no plot twist. There's no real big moment that they all have to get beyond. It's mostly just character development and relationship development and their story in that. But, this isn't like a thriller or anything like that. So 2.
Yeah. I'm going with the 2. You clearly didn't come for the story in this book. It was meant to be dirty and it was meant to be enjoyable. There was a story in there that kept everything moving to have it make sense. Is it a personal preference of mine? No. But I sure as hell freaking enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's like the sushi places where the sushi arrives on a conveyor belt.
Oh.
Yeah. Totally.
It just gets delivered right to you.
Yes.
Nom.
Yep.
Nom.
And it's like, I'm going to stuff it in my face and I'm going to enjoy it.
Minimal effort, maximum
reward.
reward.
Yeah, absolutely.
With instant gratification.
Yes.
All right. So I think we have cleared the lines. When we talk about overall rating, we are not thinking about an average. Overall rating. Did this book make you happy? Did you enjoy it? You can give it anywhere from 1 to 5 eggplants. All right. I think, Lex, we're starting off with you.
I'm giving it a wicked solid 3 because it was fun to read. It was very entertaining. It was a quick read. So, I can totally, I was picturing myself like, reading it on a plane when I go to California, just to entertain myself for the whole flight. Perfect. So, very solid 3.
What a thing to read on a plane.
I know I love reading saucy stuff on the plane or on like train commutes and stuff, and people are trying not to look at your book.
Oh, yeah, they're definitely going to see that.
And they're like, oh.
If you are sitting next to someone, you should highlight all their dirty scenes so they know exactly where their eyes should go if you have
Yeah.
an e-reader.
Yeah.
Do them a favor. Birdie.
I was going to say 3.5, which is pretty high.
Yeah.
But that's because I want to give her credit for really educating me quite well and sending me off into the world in such a fabulous fashion in terms of just this, what I am really calling a BDSM primer. I think that I'm going to I want to give Nikki credit for the fact that I do think I'm going to recommend this book to a lot of people. A lot of people who don't know very much about BDSM and want to explore other things. This is a great book to read about it and get a smattering of everything and understand the world, I think. Not knowing it so well, not being in it, I don't really know, but I'm pretty sure from what I understand from most people that it's a pretty decent view into the world. So I do think that it was an easy read. It was a fun read. It was entertaining. It was pretty well written for what it was. So I really want to give her credit for that. I do think I'm going to end up recommending it to people for that content.
And I think I would take it totally over 50 Shades of Grey, which is, one of those things that people, that was sort of many people's first dive into this world.
Which had a really horrible structural relationship issue and everything.
100%.
So,
and
this did not have that.
In some ways has a much more healthy view.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Joey.
I am going with a 3. And for all the reasons that both of you listed. When I first read the summary of this book, I thought it was going to be super intense, very established relationship between the female main character and the first male main character. And here comes in this other one and she has to make a decision. I thought there was going to be a lot of turmoil within that. I think it was a little bit of surprise, the direction the book went in, but I enjoyed it. It was great. It was fun. It was titillating. Really just was outlined rather well. The scene at the end, thoroughly enjoyed that. I thought the 2 male main characters were hot. So it was fun. It was enjoyable. It was a quick read. Sometimes this is a great little, I have gone ahead and just want a book that outlines all hot, kinky sex. Bring it on. Let's move on. And it fulfilled that need. So it was great. It was enjoyable.
I almost want to say, for the genre that it is, in its own genre, it's a 5. Mm-hmm. But pull it out and put it into a world full of books.
Yeah. Listeners, we want to hear from you. Have you read this book? How would you rate it? Let us know on our website and all of our social media pages. Thank you for listening. Please rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Follow us at the Lusty Library Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and visit our webpage at thelustylibrarypodcast.com. We will see you next time.
Bye.